The smell of fluffy pancakes and scrambled eggs would make anyone salivate. Who knew how to make perfect pancakes in under 10 minutes better than our grandmothers? Let's look at some quick, famous recipes that our grandmothers made in 10 minutes. Buttered noodles are a dish so strongly associated with the elderly that they even have another name. Introducing Grandma's noodles, which were a staple of any family gathering back when simple dishes like this were still enough to leave a great impression on everyone at the table. The eggs made you feel great because they added a very warm feeling to the dish, as well as being great for you. The butter itself was just the right touch that the dish needed and brought out the chewy sensation of the noodles so much more, and the overall flavor was something a mix between creamy chicken noodles and chicken cooked in butter, shredded and diced with vegetables. It screamed love in every sense of the word because it was a dish that took effort and, more than anything else, a lot of attention to detail to nail. But if that's the job, then there's no one better for it than the grandmas of the country. Speaking of adding butter to the mix and elevating the dish, cheese has a pretty similar effect when you mix it with some scrambled eggs. It was one of the dreamiest breakfasts you could wake up to. The scent of freshly scrambled eggs forming a clear road that guided you to the kitchen, with each step taken increasing that early morning appetite. Once you sit, you are blessed with the glorious glow of cheese mixed with shining yolk and brilliant egg whites, scrambled to complete perfection mixed in with Grandma's special seasonings. That usually just meant a dash of paprika and oregano here and there. What was truly special, though, is how Grandma would manage to melt the cheese into the egg without compromising on how scrambled it was, which is an art lost to them now. There really is nothing like a grilled cheese sandwich, a meal that you have seen in the media, in kitchens, all over neighborhoods, in stalls and diners, and just about everywhere else. Sometimes you are in too much of a rush to make anything proper, or you just might only have some cheese and bread on hand. Everyone still needs to eat, but does that mean we have to wash down something we do not even like the taste of? No! And the popularity of grilled cheese sandwiches is a testament to that. But how did these sandwiches get so popular? Well, most Americans can only remember them as a loving meal that their grandmother would make in times exactly like what we described. The best part is that regardless of what kind of bread or cheese you like, every combo works just as well, which is something we cannot say about many dishes. So here is a dish that you may not see coming or be prepared for, but it actually works really well this way too. We are talking about peanut butter jelly and banana toast, which is exactly what it sounds like. You take some toast, preferably toast until it's crunchy, then lather it with as much peanut butter and jelly as you desire, and layer it with sliced bananas. You may have only heard of that combo as a part of some protein shake or smoothie, but it works just as well sitting on top of bread as it does in a glass. This is also a perfectly refreshing option for when you are low on work, and grandmas obviously kept that in mind. When they could just tell that somebody in the household needed a sugar rush and a kick from behind to get them into high gear, they would feed them a lot more toast than was probably wise, but it would work every time. Egg salad was another classic that people would often come home to when visiting their grandparents for Thanksgiving or just on the weekend in general. Egg salad typically consists of mayonnaise, mustard, and green onions, which add both color and crunch to the dish. When you think of a salad, your mind tends to immediately think boring and unimaginative, but egg salads can toss those opinions right out the window with just one bow. Especially if your grandma left her recipe laying around in some journal or cookbook she compiled all throughout her life. Egg salad in particular would go very well with rye, and it would work as a sandwich too. Grandmas loved bringing this one along for family picnics. Who could ever resist pancakes? Since we are visiting the all-time classics which last even today in almost every child's diet and life, it would be a crime to go without mentioning Grandma's beloved fluffy pancakes. Did you ever wonder what made hers so much fluffier? Pancake houses across the nation seemingly met their match when confronted with a 60-something-year-old grandmother who loves to spend time obsessing over her grandkids. So what is it that home chefs discovered that several brands and franchises could not? There are a few tricks they would use, like letting the egg whites relax in the batter before cooking them, or having impeccable flipping skills so just the right amount of heat gets to each side. Some would just whisk and beat their eggs and batter so well that you got one supremely thick stack of pancakes. It seems the secret was simply the years of pancake-making experience that are hard to replicate. Cinnamon sugar toast is a delightful breakfast combo that was a go-to for grandmas, not just for their kids and grandkids, but for their own mornings as well. Sometimes all you need from the world is a good toast and a healthy hit of glucose, and cinnamon sugar does that like nothing else. Cinnamon in particular started getting a lot more popular as an ingredient during the times most of our grandmas were alive, since a lot of bakeries started using it with maple syrup and vanilla, though it was always a popular choice. It is just that little variations in daily meals did not start popping up until the 1910s or 1920s. And since then, cinnamon has become a mainstay highlight of all things that scream USA food. So our next dish comes with a bit of a history lesson that goes way further back than the time of our grandparents. Ham and cheese quesadillas may have been what they were binge eating daily and serving up to us, but where did quesadillas ever come from? Apparently, they were not an American invention, and nobody could really find a solid name that they could credit with making the idea up first, until people did some history digging and found out that Spanish settlers that tried their hand at taking over Central America in the very early days of the land brought Mexican culture with them. The rest, as they say, is history, and the people of the USA took to quesadillas very well. Especially easy variants like the ham and cheese one, which meant that you almost always had a snack that hit the taste buds just right and made you full too. The best part about quesadillas is that they are so quick to prepare and easy to make that you can enter Flavor Town in just 10-15 minutes, which is a pretty good sell for anybody. Convenient food is always the best after all. There are times where you just absolutely do not feel like getting up and doing anything, and in those times, microwaving some mac and cheese can be really helpful. We are sure most of us have memories of spending the nights at our grandparents' and waking up to some mac and cheese in the microwave, or coming home from school to a bowl that you could lose your worries in. The cheesier it was, the happier a kid would be after eating it, and even at this adult stage of life, a hot bowl can bring all those memories flooding right back in. Mac and cheese started growing in popularity when Mississippi farm families adopted it as a regular meal, and from there onwards it spread to a lot of families everywhere across the states. We thank God for that little fact every day, since we do not know what we would do without it. Grandma Olpa's apple pie is a classic that only grandmothers are aware of or know how to make, despite it being pretty simple. It's something you could make on your own, but you likely wouldn't achieve the same level of finesse. Apple pies like this one are typically filled with plenty of apples, topped with a lattice crust, and smothered in thick, rich applesauce. It would often make for the best Thanksgiving pie you could have, and they would certainly keep making it every time the holiday season came knocking. The mixture of butter sugar on the top as well as the sauce makes it unforgettable if you try it for the first time, and it is addictive enough to keep making you come back for more. This is also a recipe that grandmothers were fond of passing on. People have been putting things on top of crackers for centuries now, and enjoying it as a simple biscuit elevates meat, cheese, and just about anything else to a new height. Tuna salad with crackers was just one of many popular additions to the trend, and it is a fan favorite across the nation. Preparing the tuna salad takes a little time, but assembling it on crackers takes less than 10 minutes. Grandmas had so many recipes like this that they could just be made in a flash but would fill you up or be a kind of snack you have never had before on your own. Tuna salad on crackers is something you can make too just as easily, so give it a try if you ever have just biscuits and some tuna laying around. Nobody is a stranger to wraps and how they dominate the bread world as one of the best things you could do with dough or pita or whatever wrap you have. Honey mustard chicken wraps are one kind in particular that have been really popular all over America, since a lot of families grew up eating these or bringing them to school. They were one of the most commonly demanded things to eat. Everywhere you would go, there was a craze for honey mustard wraps that was hard to beat out and impossible to escape. McDonald's had their own budget-friendly versions that did amazingly well with the people too, and home chefs soon found ways to even copy that. As a result, these chicken wraps have become a regular part of the average American diet plan. Also, they just work so well since they are pretty quick to eat too and can be made pretty fast as well. If you know what you are doing, 10 minutes is all you need to assemble and have a wrap ready to go. Imagine you're at a snack bar surrounded by croutons and peri-peri bites, but no garlic bread bites. You try something else in order to fill the craving, but nothing really seems to be doing the trick. Whatever is on deck is just not that tasty, and you seem to be recalling memories from days past. Your grandma would make more garlic bread bites than was probably healthy for children, but who could stop her from making everyone's day? The bites were so delicious and had the perfect amount of crunch, but also great potential for munching as you watched a movie or a show. That still holds up exactly the same today, so people often get to making them because they are so easy and take barely 10 minutes. Watch out, because this just might take popcorn out of your rotation if you have not experienced its magic before. Trying out your favorite ramen packet for the 1150th time this year for dinner? We get it, it is a pretty reliable option. Nothing hits that comfort food craving as well as ramen does. But did you know that back in the days of the early 1900s, when it was not so popular, most home chefs would spice up ramen with some basic additions that are so common today that almost everybody uses it as a default now. We are talking about ramen with eggs, which is something that you may be so used to seeing in every TikTok and short reel on Insta these days, but it did not always used to be like that. Home chefs were the ones who started the trend of adding things to your ramen, spicing it up and seeing what works and what does not. We have to thank them because they definitely hit gold with it. Maybe you've been watching and thinking that so far, nothing seems particularly healthy. Like maybe a snack for you looks more like a fruit and nut oatmeal bowl, rather than mac and cheese, bites, or grilled sandwiches. We cannot blame you. Sometimes you need food that keeps the bloat down and keeps you well fed while preferably not tasting bad. A lot of people think of healthy food and immediately think that it has to taste bad, or even if it does not, it will not taste as good as it could. Fruit and nut oatmeal bowls do not work like that because of how versatile they are. Sometimes your grandma would add almonds and diced apples covered in maple syrup, while other times she'd use crushed blueberries. The template lets you do different things with it every day, so this is an easy 10-minute option you can make whenever you need something to freshen you up. American ideas of a stir-fry often come from dishes like bok choy or aromatic heavy stir-fry that really have a lot of different flavors going on. The recipes that most home chefs and stay-at-home wives cook up is not that complicated. These stir-fries often include basic sauces like chili sauce, soy sauce, vegetable oil, and sweet chili sauce, along with standard vegetables such as lettuce, cabbage, onions, and whatever else you prefer. This gets you an easy dish that saves a lot of time and effort while still ticking the rest of your nutritional needs off for the day. It is also a great recipe to bring back from Grandma's arsenal if you feel like you need a strong source of greens in your diet and are not sure where to start. That is the beauty of a lot of these recipes. They may be decades old, but they were made and refined with the idea of lifelong use in mind. Plus, just like fruit bowls, you can mix and match different ideas that help you find your perfect veggie stir-fry. Try many kinds of recipes out since there is a lot to choose from. Not just one family was used to eating these. What's your favorite flag? If you have any appreciation for colorful ones, then you will like Capri's salads, which end up having all the colors of Italy's flag. This is an Italian dish that is really popular as a starter as well as a snack that has been passed down through families, after all. People love adding cheese to everything, which is something we are sure you are well aware of by this point living in America. Caprese salads involve sliced mozzarella, fresh basil, and tomatoes, and it is typically arranged beautifully. Well, that is if you get it at a fancy Italian joint, but if you were having this at your grandma's place, then it was a big bowl with a lot more cheese than they put in those kitchens. It really made the salad a lot better too, even if it was not as good for weight control anymore. Capri salads are something you should try when you get sick of the regular French and Caesar salads. You might just find a new favorite. So, pita bread pizza, it is a bit of a controversy in some places, and a beloved rendition in others. Let's talk about it. While the Greeks pioneered pita 500 years ago, the pie itself came to town in America in around the 1930s when the import of Arabic pita bread started becoming really popular. This would eventually lead to shawarma stands and the like popping up all over the place too, but people did not respond as well to pita bread as they did to other wraps. Some people thought that it was just a bad way of making a pizza, while others, like home chefs and grandmas, deeply appreciated how easy it was. They saw the use in it, and if you knew what you were doing, the pita bread pizza was pretty indistinguishable from a proper pie you would get from Jerry's. Let's wrap this list up with something that everyone has had once in their life at least. There's nothing like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich straight from the hands of your grandma. It was never the butter or the jelly. Those are just as good today as they were back in the 1900s and before everything started getting pumped with additives. Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are some of the most iconic meals that this country has enjoyed, and probably very few foods out there have this much of a mainstream impact either. You could take the sandwich to work, or your wife makes them for you and your kids. The sandwich itself may send you down memory lane as you remember all the times your grandmother made for you. See how the act of making and eating a PB&J is a generational family experience? That's it for recipes our grandmothers loved and you can cook in 10 minutes. Like, subscribe, and let's keep those memories alive.